The state also has lyrics from Jeffrey Williams that says he has snipers behind him. And Officer Gant's testimony that these two cars were rolling in tandem together, and there's statements made referencing the connection between them.
He did not just say lyrics of Thug saying snipers behind him. Day 22 of the Young Thug YSL RICO trial had a mind-blowing moment. Officer Fikes took the stand about a 2017 traffic stop where Gunna and Thug were caught with $50,000 in cash, a stolen firearm, and drugs. The defense lawyers then tell the court that the state wants to bring up another incident from 2018 where Thug got caught speeding. Thug gets pulled over in this 2018 incident, gets a speeding ticket, but the car behind him gets caught with AK-47s in their car. Thug literally has zero connection to these firearms behind him in this other car. The judge then asks the state how Thug is connected to this. The state brings up lyrics. What are we doing here? What world can the lyrics connect you to what's in someone else's car behind you? This trial is ridiculous. Hit subscribe. Here we go. First look at Thug today. Look like he going to church or something. Looks good though. Always stretching. So this first witness right here of day 22 is an officer involving Christian Eppinger. This is Christian Eppinger right here. He shot this cop 4 times in the shoulder, in the knee, and then in the head. Somehow the cop survived, so he only got attempted murder. Pretty sure he also robbed a mother at gunpoint with her child present. So yeah, this guy's an absolute savage. I don't know what this incident is about, but he was a minor at the time, so this is an old incident with Christian. So it's not really too important to cover, but Christian is also not in the courtroom, as you may know. He's not even on the case anymore.
Young man, I think his name is Christian Eppinger. That's what you remember, right? Yes. And you were also involved in the arrest and taking into custody of this young man. Yes. The only person that you were aware of involved in the commission of this crime was the person arrested, Christian Eppinger. Just one person, right? Yes. Okay. You don't know why that young man, on his own, decided to commit a carjacking on that day. You certainly don't have any evidence or any personal knowledge that you can provide to this jury to indicate, to tell them that he committed that carjacking because he was involved in some sort of racketeering conspiracy. You don't know that. Your Honor. What is the same? That's the same question. Can I inquire as to what is improper about the question, Your Honor? You did not put anything in your report that this case was a gang-related carjacking, right? Right. You did not put anything in your report that this case was a RICO-inspired carjacking, correct? Correct. Because you had no evidence to suggest that was the case. Correct. That was 2016, right? Yes. We're in 2024. Yes. In the 8 years since then, you still have no evidence that you can give to this jury to indicate that that case, that carjacking was a gang-related carjacking. True? True. Have no information, no new evidence, nothing since 2016 that tells you that that case was a RICO-inspired carjacking, correct? Basis.
Lawyer kind of cooking there. He's separating this incident from YSL as a gang enterprise, giving the jury that it could just be Christian out there robbing people and getting their cars and shit, which is good because it gets the jury thinking like, oh, some of these incidents could just be thrown in there and they're not actually part of any gang or anything.
You are aware that this incident that you're testifying about is part of some larger racketeering RICO. Oh, yes. Right? You know that, right? Yes. Right. You're not able to tell them, hey, look, I've got information that this case was involved in some sort of RICO case. You can't. You haven't told them that. No. Because you don't know. No. Right? You don't have any evidence to indicate that, do you? No.
I mean, come on. Arresting officer admitting that he doesn't think this has anything to do with a RICO and this is an overt act in the RICO case. Christian Eppinger is a savage and he probably should be in jail for the rest of his life for what he did. I mean, armed robbery on a mom, shooting a police officer in the head. You probably should go to jail for the rest of your life. Is it part of a bigger conspiracy? Who knows? Probably not, though. This guy was probably just trying to steal a car, dude, and make money off of it.
It would be true to say that you don't see him seated anywhere in this courtroom, right? No, I don't think so, no. Okay. Now, Jeffrey Williams. Do you know Jeffrey Williams? Not until this case, no. Okay. You see him seated over there, right, in the tan-colored suit? Yes. All right. Do you know where Jeffrey Williams was on May 11th of 2016? Objection, Your Honor. Not speculation.
Separating Thug from that incident, because that was the day of the incident.
Have any reason to believe, any evidence, and this is just personal knowledge, you have any personal knowledge that Jeffrey Williams was in any form or fashion involved in the May 11, 2016 crime that was committed by Christian Eppinger? No.
So they just went on a 2-hour-long break. Some people ask me why I don't live stream this shit at the same time as the trial. Well, first of all, I'm on the West Coast. I would have to wake up very early, and reasons like this, they randomly go on 2-hour-long breaks, and I would just be sitting here. So I'm gonna have to blur this, but there's guns and drugs right here. I'm blurring it, dude. I ain't playing games with YouTube anymore, bro. They're crazy. That is a shit ton of money, though. Shout out Thugger Daily right here. Witness number 38 is Officer Fikes, who was involved in a 2017 traffic stop with Gunna and Thug. Third person, Don Vito, is heard on body cam claiming all the stuff in the car. He's expected to testify on behalf of the defense.
Sergio Kitchens was sitting in the front seat. Jeffrey Williams was in the front passenger seat, and Cedric Jones was seated in the back seat.
The red bag, where was that bag located?
In the back seat.
Who could reach that bag if they were sitting in the vehicle?
I stand as the form.
Yeah, who could reach that bag? Come on. District Attorney needed to tighten up his questions.
Would a human hand be able to reach from the front passenger seat to where that red bag is found?
Absolutely. In the red bag was the FN57, the cash, the currency, and then the orange medicine bottle. But I think it was like 49,000, something like that.
God damn. These boys driving around with $49,000 in a book bag.
$49,926.
And how was there anything around or on that money?
It was rubber banded together, just like it was in the picture we showed earlier. Multiple different pills and the multicolored powder. There was a wallet with credit cards in it that had Jeffrey Williams' name on it.
If I were to guess, it was actually Thug's bag. Now that's one of his boys taking a charge for him. That's what that is, low key.
Any other indication that that red bag belonged to anyone else other than Jeffrey Williams?
No, sir.
I sustain the objection.
There's a hump in between the floorboard on the passenger and driver's side, and it was sitting on top of that hump. There was a Sprite bottle with purple liquid in it. It's either drink straight out of the bottle, or sometimes they mix it with Sprite and call it purple drink. Yes, sir. I assume that it was purple drink.
That's objection. So.
Sorry.
That's objection. Jury's to disregard the witness's last response.
It was in the the passenger front floorboard in between Jeffrey Williams' feet.
What was the lettering on his jeep?
The only thing you see is SLA.
So that's how they were able to connect this to the gang, because his chain says SLAT and he has a red bandana on. This is the third guy, by the way, obviously not Gunner or Thug.
Do you have any particular background training or experience that allows you to recognize and investigate criminal street gangs and criminal street gang activity?
No, sir.
That was the district attorney getting the point across that he had no training to even recognize that these people were in a gang. They're already predicting the defense is going to come up and talk about how it's not related to a gang, pretty much.
Who is depicted in 15 Lima?
Sergio Kitchens.
And where was he in the vehicle when you approached it?
He was driving.
Who is depicted in 16 Lima?
Jeffrey Williams.
Where was he seated on occupied?
The front passenger seat.
Did he have a jewelry on him his day?
Yes, sir. He's got several silver necklaces on.
Low-key, his team could say, hey man, he's wearing a Fear of God shirt. I know Fear of God is a clothing brand, but Thug's team could finesse it and make it look like, he's wearing it because he believes in God, which he probably does, but you know what I mean. This is a clothing brand. It's not really, whatever. And he has a cross on. Come on now. Little loopholes here.
I did on the break email to counsel for the defendants and to your honorable court the case law regarding that rule, the best evidence rule in chattels.
I've already ruled, Miss Love. I don't know why you even said that to me. I mean, that was 10 minutes of your life that you can't get back.
Thank you, Judge.
But I appreciate it.
These exhibits and the testimony that's going to be surrounding these exhibits are issues that the court has ruled on before. Officer Price and Gant are involved in a 2017 stop of a car. That's what we're talking about right now with this officer. In 2018, there was a traffic stop, a speeding stop made by a lieutenant, I think. He stopped a Porsche that was being driven by Mr. Williams, and Mr. Kitchens was a passenger in that car. There was another car that was behind that Porsche, I believe a Charger maybe, with other individuals in it. That car was stopped as well. Williams ultimately was released with a speeding ticket.
Yeah, I heard him. I think we heard a motion on that. In fact, I know we did.
We did. And the individuals in the vehicle behind that car were investigated. I think Fikes dealt with them. There's some weapons and some drugs and some guns and some money that's found in that car, the second car, the Charger, where there is no connection shown to Mr. Williams other than that the cars appear to have been traveling one behind the other.
That's been the allegation all along.
Right. Those are pictures of the items that were found in the second car. Those are the items that Mrs. Steele argued and asked the court to keep out, that they're not relevant to the charges either against the speeding ticket against Mr. Williams, or for that matter, this case. There's no connection to either one. You would keep those out. Those would be kept out unless the state were to show some kind of connection.
I mean, yeah, it's in a different car behind him. It's not in his car, and he wasn't even charged with it at the time. How is this being brought up at all?
Between those items and Mr. Williams. So that was the court's position, that was the court's ruling, and so I'm a bit, I was going to say flabbergasted, I'm a bit surprised that the state is actually intending to ask this officer about those items that the court has already indicated have no relevance to this case unless they make some kind of connection. They haven't made that connection. We have not received any evidence to indicate that they will or can make that connection. So I'm asking you to enforce the ruling that you made previously.
Well, I hadn't ruled on it yet. Mr. Adams, thank you for refreshing my recollection and memory as to that particular motion. So what's the nexus of those two? Because from the defense's position, I think we had this.
Yeah, what's the nexus? Let's see what the state says right here. Let's go.
That clearly anything that was found in the stop of Mr. Williams or that first vehicle would be relevant.
To answer the court's question, and I want it to be clear, this is Act 75 in the indictment, where it says, on May 18th of 2018, defendant Jeffrey Williams, an associate of YSL, was the subject of a traffic stop for speeding. Involved in the stop were two vehicles, one being driven by Williams and another vehicle closely following Williams, containing 4 individuals who were armed with numerous weapons with high-capacity magazines, an AK-47 with a 30-round magazine, and overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Defense's position is that the state can't be able to try. This is all for argument at closing argument. If they feel like the state doesn't create a nexus with Jeffrey Williams or does create, they can argue that at closing. The state, in any case, until all the evidence is complete, has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt all of the cases in indictment. In this case, is an overt act in count 1, the RICO conspiracy. So this is an overt act that the state is putting forth evidence to present to the court for the jury. And so the defense wants the state to be precluded from introducing evidence that is in the indictment that was presented to the grand jury, and the state has and its weight, not admissibility, Your Honor. They may feel that the state's evidence is weak, the state's evidence is non-existent, or they may think the evidence is strong but will argue against it otherwise. But that's all for them to decide as advocates and to argue to the jury. The jury has to decide whether the evidence that the state presents is sufficient or insufficient to the standards and the law instructed by this court when they are deliberating, determining if overt acts have been admitted or completed what the state alleged in this indictment. And if the overt acts go to proof count 1, that is all in the purview of the jury. That is the state's argument, is that this is verbatim, and the way it's worded in Act 75.
That's pretty crazy, right? Imagine driving on the highway and you can get in trouble for what the people in the car behind you have. What world are we living in?
I think I defer ruling on it to, in fact, I know I defer ruling on it to hear more.
This is an overt act that the state has put forward to prove this RICO, and the state should be wholeheartedly allowed to present evidence for an overt act in this very indictment that we're in trial for.
And the court can make a decision that there's certain evidence that's simply inadmissible. It's not appropriate. It's hearsay. It's for whatever reason. And that's what we're dealing with. And however that case goes forward.
I will get their names. They are not indicted co-defendants. Give me one brief moment, Your Honor. And
They're not indicted co-defendants. I don't think there's a nexus here for this to be shown to the jury.
the state also has lyrics from Jeffrey Williams that says he has snipers behind him. And Officer Gant's testimony that these two cars were rolling in tandem together, and there's statements made referencing the connection between them.
Hold on. He did not just say lyrics of thugs saying snipers behind him. The lyrics are irrelevant in my opinion. Second of all, an AK-47 is not a sniper. I cannot believe this district attorney just said that out loud and thought that that was a good point. What world are we living in, bro?
It's certainly relevant to prove an overt act in this indictment.
Your overt acts are bullshit. It's already been proven 4 of them are complete bullshit. What are we doing here, bro? This trial's a circus, bro. This trial's actually blowing my mind. Oh my God, it's so stupid.
That's how we have trials. So the jury determines if this overt act or this count, because ultimately this relates right back to count 1.
There's no nexus. Like, for example, if you had 4 YSL members or gang members in the second vehicle, one of them was in there, and you were trying to show that either membership or the other things that you are trying to allege, and that would be appropriate.
Yes, the judge has a fucking brain today. He said that since there's no YSL members in the other car and they're not indicted, there's not enough nexus. They're completely irrelevant people in the car behind him, technically.
And the way it's charged as well is it's 4 individuals. So, you know, which 4? That's why I was waiting to see which, or the nexus as to the 4 individuals, because just because 2 cars are traveling down the road at the same time doesn't necessarily make them tied to one another. So
Let's go. The judge has a fucking brain today.
there was no evidence or nothing, no statement saying, hey, other than Mr. Williams saying, you know, what's going to happen to the other people. That's the only thing I heard in the motion. Mr. Williams inquiring about what was going to happen to the other people in the second vehicle.
In the facts as Officer Gant and Officer Fikes just conducting this traffic stop, but what is the reason that this is very important, that this is an indicted overt act, is because it's all of the facts and circumstances, and that's why it's not just this traffic stop in isolation. It's not as if the state charged a defendant with possessing these guns in a different car. It's charged exactly how the testimony is going to come out, exactly what is in overt act 75. And so the totality of Instagram, social media, all of the other overt acts, the indicted acts, the association, the connection, this total case, the jury can choose, not choose.
It's such a reach. This is such a reach. This is one of the biggest reaches I've ever seen in a courtroom ever, dude.
Make any inference they want, an argument of a nexus to, and if this was in furtherance of the RICO or if it was not.
That's why I defer ruling on it, because the pictures here, it's really, really prejudicial unless it's got some nexus. I mean, because these are pictures of automatic weapons and cash. At this point in time, I don't see it. Not that I may not see it, but I don't think you've got it. At this point in time. There's been nothing else that connects other than testimony I've heard that, you know, hey, Mr. Williams asking about these people from the other vehicle, but there's been nothing else that I've heard thus far that would tie these particular weapons to Mr. Williams.
Understand, Your Honor, would the state be able to brief this honorable court specifically on this issue first thing tomorrow morning?
We had a motion on this, okay?
Yes,
we had a motion. I don't want to replow the ground again, Mr. Atkins. I'm waiting on the state to provide a nexus. That's what you all said you were going to do. So at this point in time, until you can provide a nexus, I'm not going to allow it. I mean, you can attempt to identify them or whatever else, but they're not admissible at this point in time.
He keeps looking down at Miss Love right here because, you know, Miss Love giving him the evil eyes. There she got the complete silence in response. Let's move on. Here we go.
To be in line, the state will provide and what I was going to say, Your Honor, is that with this court's ruling, essentially the state is precluded at this current moment until it presents the court to satisfactory reason of the nexus from introducing any evidence on overt act 75 in this indictment through the testimony of Officer Gant or Officer Fikes.
I would not admit them at this point.
That's pretty much it. The judge actually had a brain today and didn't let that be talked about in front of the jury. In what world could we get in trouble for what's in a vehicle behind us? I mean, that's the biggest reach ever. And then he brings up lyrics. Are you fucking kidding me about snipers? Come on, bro. So stupid. It's one of the biggest reaches I've ever seen in my life. Comment down below what you guys think. Hit subscribe right now. Fucking love you guys. Peace out.